Welcome back. I'm Lady Hart and this is Lady Hart to Heart. Lady Hart to Heart. What a good title is that? I didn't come up with it. I will be discussing mental health and whatever the hell else I want in much more depth and sharing with you the techniques I use to get through and hopefully help you make your own life a little bit easier. Now, I am not a psychologist. I have no mental health training. However, I am a mentally ill person who has been in a unique position to see lifelong studies done on specific mental illnesses. This has allowed me to see behind the scenes of the Australian mental health system as well as being a consumer of it. Everything I talk about is based on my own experience of someone living with lifelong permanent trauma and diagnosed mental illnesses. I am not offering any kind of advice, but if you do find anything that I talk about helpful, that is awesome. And so, today's topic, when is it okay to sacrifice your mental health? Never. It is never okay to sacrifice your mental health. No, just kidding. Unfortunately, it's just not that easy. Now, when I'm talking about mental health here, I am including our emotional, psychological, and social well-being in with that, because that is mental health. There are so many caveats here that we need to address. The most important of which is that many of us just don't have a choice. Now, if you've been creeping my channel for a while, you'll know this is something that I had to deal with recently due to my housing situation. Now, I'm someone who has quite a bit of self-awareness, so I was incredibly aware of the point I should be presenting at hospital. And because of life circumstances, I was simply unable to. There was no one who could step in and fill my place to look for rentals, apply for rentals, run my business, everything in life. Now, I'm a solutions-based kind of gal. So, what would the next steps be? Going to my doctor, who I've worked with for a number of years, talking to him about it, who of course said, you need to go present at the ER. After explaining my situation that I simply couldn't, he was still very insistent that I should go to the hospital. I know, man. I want to be there too. There was simply no way I could even take the minimum 6 days stay in the psychiatric unit to recoup and get the help I needed, get my meds adjusted, talk to someone, all that jazz. That's even if they had an available bed for me. There was also a very real chance if I did present at the ER, they would just be like, I'm so sorry, we don't have any beds available at the moment. And this is not something, as someone already struggling, you want to hear. But this ain't my first rodeo, so I was very aware that that could have been a possibility. So I could sacrifice running my business for a short amount of time, even though it hurts my income and my soul, but I could not run away from the fact that we needed somewhere to live. Now, all of these circumstances on their own would be difficult to deal with for anybody, but you throw in those added factors of depression and anxiety or any other mental health symptoms that you're experiencing, and suddenly you're doing life on expert mode, just trying to get yourself to a base rate of normal or stable, whatever that looks like for you. And this is a very common thing. Many of us aren't able to get the help we need because of life circumstances, which worsens the symptoms that we're experiencing, keeping us in a perpetual cycle of that depression and anxiety. These are things that need to be healed and treated. They are mental wounds, and just as if you broke a leg, you need to take steps to help recover from that. I'm speaking very broadly about depression and anxiety here. If you've got your fun, clinically insane stamp on your hand, you don't much have a choice in that either. But it is exactly like that. If you had a broken leg, you would not continue walking on that leg. You would rest it to let it heal. It's the same with mental health matters. You're not going to walk on it, but you're going to try and take care and nurture and comfort that area of yourself in order to heal, or it's going to get worse. Over the course of COVID-19, these symptoms were being experienced by people who had otherwise never experienced poor mental health in their life. There was a 5% increase over the years of COVID for antidepressant prescriptions being prescribed to patients. So that in and of itself shows that at any point, even someone with good mental health can experience a decline due to life circumstances. I spoke with so many people who have never experienced depression or anxiety in their lives, and suddenly they were having panic attacks, loss of joy, paranoia, loss of empathy, which is a very, very scary symptom that can come along with depression. And yeah, that's terrifying. You're experiencing these symptoms for the first time. And then also for the first time, you're experiencing firsthand the lack of accessibility and affordability in the mental health system. When I talk about lack of accessibility and affordability, the best example I can give is with the 10 free psychologist sessions you can get from your GP. Now, I am very, very much for this system. I think it's a great start, and I have worked with some fantastic psychologists over the years whilst this has been in effect. But the hurdle here is these psychologists are usually booked out for months in advance. And when you are accessing the mental health system, it usually isn't until things have gotten so bad that you need the help now. 10 sessions for those of us who are permanently mental ill is not enough time to even really break the surface. So from there, those psychologists can then refer us on to specialists. But a specialist is going to cost me upwards of about $300 per session. And do I have that? I do not, my friends. I am also on this side of the mental health workers 1000%, 100% underpaid, understaffed, underappreciated. And they choose to do that because they want to help. And that is such a wonderful thing. So I am not being down on mental health workers here at all. I understand that you are as much a part of the system as we are. And that broken system should be looked at by all of us together. And so self-sacrifice of mental health becomes unavoidable. There are other reasons people self-sacrifice their mind matters as well, including stigma, communication barriers, straight up fear, disassociation, dissolution of reality, lack of resources, and even guilt is a huge one. But any progress at the expense of our mental health is not really real progress at all. It's only promoting, at best, a spiral of the same symptoms that got us there in the first place, and at worst, reinforcing the idea that we aren't worth looking after ourselves, or our mental health is not worth looking after. When the system or other people enforce this as well, it's very easy to just be like, well, it's clearly not a priority. Stop that thinking right now and start thinking that there is no health without mental health. I need to look after me is a complete sentence. Whatever that is, it is going to look very different to you, but that's something you can work on identifying. It's also thinking about things like, what do I need to be comfortable right now? And because I can't go and get that help that I need, I'm going to have to take the steps that I can. If the system is going to fail me, I'm not going to fail myself. Saying I need to be alone as much as possible in silence for the next 2 weeks is a perfectly reasonable boundary. In fact, it's a healthy boundary, and that's what I felt what I needed. Identify what is the best healthy coping mechanism for you. And we'll be talking a lot about negative coping mechanisms in the future. Whether that be calling mental health lines, which are fantastic resources. There are also online and text resources if you have phone phobia, much like I do. I am also a huge fan of online mental health forums because you can connect with others who are experiencing things similar to you, and also often get great techniques on how they're managing with their specific set of symptoms that might help in your situation as well. And honestly, I think it all starts with promoting more conversation about it, normalizing these conversations and knowing how to have these conversations. On my last video about my real estate situation, a commenter wrote, "Don't raise your voice, better your argument." And I love this quote. However, I only half agree. Too often when someone raises their voice, it is because for a long time no one has been listening and it becomes an act of desperation. I feel like raising our voices is real and raw and passionate, but I agree 1000% on improving your argument. That should really just go along with a lot of things that you're thinking about internally or working on. We should always be working to improve ourselves or just be a little bit better than the day before if possible. So thank you so much to that commenter. I love that comment and I loved mulling it over. So you hit the sweet spot on that one. Thank you so much. Now, too long didn't watch. It is never okay to sacrifice your mental health, but it would be foolish to think that that statement comes without limitations. I need to look after me is a complete sentence. That is a strong personal boundary and one that will often take quite a beating before you get used to enforcing it. But I wholly recommend you set it, get comfortable with it, use it, love it. You are worth it. So yeah. Thank you for joining me on my very first Lady Heart to Heart. I will still be making costume and antics videos and all the stuff I got up to, but this will just be our little chats between us. So if there is anything you would like to hear me speak on, I am happy to broach things that are difficult to talk about in a way that we can hopefully keep lighthearted and move ahead. Not everything has to be gloom and doom. Trust me, I've lived it. Thanks for joining me once again. I have been Lady Hart and you have been an audience. See you next week.